I understand that few of the students who are attending this session, they are unable to see this program live for some reason, which is beyond my control. There are some technical issues. So, obviously, this video will be uploaded in YouTube, and as I said, go to YouTube and follow the this session, particular session that we are doing today. I started saying whatever subjects we have covered so far. Unfortunately, it looks like that we may not be able to cover all the topics that was scheduled, because after today we will have 4 more topics to be covered, 4 more subjects to be covered, and that is cold chain logistics, reverse logistics, and IT, information technology in logistics and port logistics. I am supposed to give you a brief idea about all these 4 topics on Friday, but let me tell you in advance that there is a possibility that the Friday class may not happen because of the ManaTv probably not functioning on that particular day. This is a recent development. So, I will try and see whether I can record all these sessions beforehand and upload in the YouTube, so that you can all see. Otherwise, I will have no other option but to leave these 4 topics from this particular course this time, or in any case, since we are decided to conduct an assessment. So, the assessment will happen without these 4 topics, and when I come and the faculties come to your colleges and universities, we will discuss these 4 topics and give you study materials, so that even if you are not evaluated, you will have certain knowledge on these 4 important topics. These are all important topics, particularly port logistics, all of them, they are quite extended topics, but as I said, we are only going to give you the significant or the important areas on all these topics. So, what I am trying to say is that these 4 topics, which was supposed to be conducted on 27th April, it may happen live or it may not happen live, because as I said, because of certain pre-scheduled some upcoming program of ManaTv. In that case, I have 2 options, either to record this program beforehand or some other time and upload in YouTube for you to see the video, or else I will have to remove or ignore these 4 topics for this particular course, and this will be discussed during the classroom sessions after the evaluation also over, and we will not cover these 4 topics in the evaluation. Hope you have all understood. In case of any clarity, in case of any doubt, you can come back to me. Okay, you can ask the coordinators and they will in turn come back to me, or you can directly write to me. Okay. So, in the second session today, in the first session we have discussed supply chain risk in supply chain. Now, we are going to discuss coordination in supply chain and strategy in logistics sector. Let us start with coordination. Before I start with coordination, on the frame, on the very first slide, you will find what is important over here is coordination. Obviously, when we call the very term supply chain actually signifies or The importance is in coordination. We again draw the supply chain, which comprises of so many players. It's a family. It's a family involved in a particular business, in producing a particular product, and then ultimately distributing and delivering to the end customer. So, this is the company. There is a company, there is a supplier, there is a supplier to this supplier, there is another supplier to this supplier, then there is a dealer, then there is a retailer, and finally, there is the end customer. Now, there has to be a coordination among all of them. The simple word coordination, by word coordination we understand there should be kind of an integration, or there is a kind of understanding between all of them. So, the word coordination may sound easy, but to make coordination happen is not that easy, because you have to understand all these are individual companies, and these are the people who are directly form the supply chain. And we have mentioned earlier there are so many other people who are also indirectly involved in the supply chain. For instance, a logistic service provider, a financial service provider, a marketing service provider. Now, none of these three are producing any are a part of the direct supply chain. They are not suppliers, they are not making any kind of product, but they are supporting from outside. So, they are also indirectly a part of the entire supply chain. To coordinate, now you think, just to think of a major company who has a large network. When I say a large network, it is not necessarily within a city or in a state or a country. The particular company may be a global company, is operating throughout the world. So, he has so many suppliers, he is involved on a day-to-day basis, he is involved with so many other companies. And why I said it is easier said than done, that to create a coordination among all these companies involved requires tremendous amount of strong management process, because everybody are independent company, all of them are independent companies. They have their own processes, they have their own protocols, they have their own systems, they have their own procedure, and to combine them for a common cause is not a easy thing to do. So, we will see how coordination, and we will also see something which is called, and let me tell you, we just want you to very simply understand that lack of coordination causes something which is called a bullwhip effect. What is bullwhip effect? Again, we will make it simple. We will just tell you what the bullwhip effect is. We do not want you to understand bullwhip effect in its extended form. If you remember, in forecasting, there are few assumptions, or there are few laws, or there are few facts that we stated about forecasting. One was, it is easy to forecast something which is close to us. That means easy to forecast for a short period of time. It is difficult to forecast anything for a longer period of time. It is easier to forecast on an aggregated basis rather than disintegrated basis. We also discussed it is easier to forecast the more you go up the supply chain, the more difficult it is to forecast. So, if all these companies who are involved, I had just drawn this company S, this supplier 1, this is supplier 2, this is supplier 3, Let us take this as a company, take this as a distributor, as a retailer, as a customer. Okay. The further you go, the more difficult it is to forecast, and difficulty in forecast is going to create a disturbance. And what is the disturbance? This disturbance is denoted so that means the more you go the up the supply chain, there is more fluctuations. That means just take the simple example, and once I describe bullwhip effect. So, if these companies are unable to, if this entire supply chain do not have coordination, this is the entire supply chain, and if this supply chain do not have coordination among themselves, once I have said this, we will go through the slides quickly one after the other, because we also have to very briefly discuss strategic logistics. Now, what do you mean by fluctuations? Take a very simple example. When a customer comes and orders to the retailer, so the retailer knows exactly how many units of a particular item, suppose any unit, the customer has asked for 100 units. So, the retailer knows there is a demand of 100 units, there is no fluctuation. What the customer wants, the retailer understands the demand. Now, so this is the retailer, but the distributor does not know what the final customer has ordered, because the retailer do not disclose. So, there is a lack of coordination, there is a lack of sharing of information. So, the retailer may order 150 units from the distributor. In the same way, the distributor may order 200 units. The company may ask. So, if you see, the more you go to the supply chain, up the supply chain, the more fluctuations you are having, because what the customer has asked for, only the retailer knows. The distributor does not know what the customer has asked. Similarly, the company also does not know what the customer has asked. The company also does not know how much the retailer has ordered. Similarly, the supplier one does not know what was the actual demand. The supplier one also does not know how much retailer or how much the distributor. He only knows what his immediate customer has ordered, his immediate customer. So, from customer to retailer to distributor to, so the more you go, the bigger the fluctuations are. That means, if you see, if initially the order was for 50 units or for 100 units, by the time it comes to the company, the demand is 200, which is far from what the ultimate customer asked for. This is called bullwhip effect. A whip, you know what is a whip? A whip which has a string attached to it. So, moment you shake the whip, it becomes like this. So, that is the reason it is called a bullwhip effect. At this point of time, we should only know this much. That means, what is a bullwhip effect? The bullwhip effect signifies, or it explains the fluctuations in demand. The more you go up the supply chain, the fluctuation becomes more and more. And why is it happening? There is a reason why. It is because of lack of coordination. It is lack of coordination. Lack of coordination among the supply chain members. We will see that not externally, these are different companies, even internally within the organization, there are different functional groups. So, within the organization itself, there are different functional groups. There is a need for a coordination among all the functional groups as well. There should be proper information sharing. Otherwise, the company supply chain, and we will see why, how it happens. Let us go, and I will flip through the slides a little quickly, because I have explained broadly what coordination is, what is the effect of lack of coordination within the supply chain. So, we want to go through the slide and see what happens, what are the various negative effects that a lack of coordination in the supply chain does. So, there is a need for coordination in the supply chain, and the lack of coordination, as we have mentioned, it causes bullwhip effect. So, what is coordination? It occurs at different stages in the supply chain. I have explained. Each stage try to maximize profit, information get distorted. Now, let us come back. If you apply common sense, why is there a lack of lack of coordination? Because we can use the word selfishness in a professional way. That means, every individual organization has its own objective. Every organization wants to make profit at the cost of others or at any cost, and in the process it disturbs the coordination among all the other supply chain members. So, in the process what happens? The information which ideally should be shared between the supply chain members is not shared, because each individual company looks at his own interest. Channel coordination aims at improving supply chain performance by aligning the plans and objective of the individual. Supply chain plans enterprises usually focuses on inventory management, ordering decisions, intercompany settings. Now, lack of supply chain, there are several negative effects. It increases the manufacturing cost, it increases the inventory cost, it increases the replenishment local time, lead time, it increases the transportation cost, increases the labor cost, it increases the level of, it reduces the level of product availability, it also reduces the relationship between the supply chain profitability. So, information processing obstacles, operational obstacles, pricing obstacles, incentive obstacles, and behavioral obstacles. Let me explain you this. If I explain you, then probably, since we are short of time and we may not be able to go through all the slides, just think of a marketing team. Now, the objective of the marketing team is to ensure there is a large quantity of inventory. So, sometimes he may look at what the market wants rather than looking at its what the production team is wants. So, the production team has their own capacity, they have their own production capacity, they have their own warehousing capacity. So, the marketing team looks at its own objective, at meeting its own targets, it looks at its own incentives. So, the marketing team has an incentive. The marketing team is incentivized based on the total number of a particular product being sold. So, they will obviously aim at increasing the number of units being delivered to the distributors and the retailers. And in the process, what happens? He does not take into account whether it is possible for the logistics manager to create that much of inventory, whether the warehouse has that kind of capacity, whether the production team has the capacity of producing those many units. So, these are the obstacles in coordination in supply chain. Let us go through the other slides. Information processing, independent forecasting, lack of information sharing. Basically, I am forecasting independently what I feel should be forecasted and what I look at it, and I do not share the information with other team members. So, there are the remedies. So, there are obstacles, this is the information obstacle, and these are the remedies, how to remove those particular obstacles. Sharing of point of sale data, collaborating forecasting, continuous replenishment, single stage control of replenishment. Just let us come back over here. What did we see over here? Sharing point of sale. Where is the point of sale? This is the point of sale. This is the point of sale. Now, if this information of how much order has been received from the final customer is shared in the supply chain, there will not be any fluctuation, right? Because the retailer is just thinking in terms of his own benefits, and so does each of these, and that happens within a particular company as well. So, if we share the data, this coordination will be able to, every company will be able to implement this coordination. So, there are operational obstacles. Ordering in large lots, large replenishment lead times exposes the company to high level of variability, rationing, shorting. So, as I said, operational obstacles. If you see, when we were discussing inventory management, there was a portion where we said inclination towards inventory, inclination towards the level of inventory by different functional groups. The procurement team has an objective, he is incentivized, or his performance is assessed based on the price, the discounts that he avails from the supplier or the vendor. Now, if you remember, there was something which we discussed about called quantity discounts. So, more the quantity bought, the higher is the discount. So, it is directly proportional to each other. So, obviously, the procurement team will be inclined to purchase in larger quantities. Without taking into account, this is going to increase what? It is going to increase the inventory holding cost. This is a definite operational obstacle. So, obviously, there is a lack of coordination. So, if I share this information, if the procurement team share this information with the logistics team will be prepared with the warehousing capacity, with the kind of inventory management, with the transportation required, etc., etc., etc. So, there could be a coordination, and the company will be saved from lot of unnecessary costs. Let us go back. So, we have discussed information obstacle, there is an operational obstacle, and these are the potential remedies for such obstacles. Reduce the lot sizes, rationing based on past sales and information sharing to limit gaming. There are a lot of companies, let me tell you, in order to stop, I just said about the marketing team's objective. When they are incentivized based on the number of, suppose a company is selling TV sets. So, the marketing team will be keen to ensure that the dealer has accepted or has taken a number of TV sets. But the problem is, what is the final sale of the TV? So, today the lot of companies are incentivizing the marketing based on the actual sales and not how much has been stocked with the dealer or the distributor. So, they incentivize, the target is based on the final sale of a TV or any other product, which could be a washing machine, it can be anything, it could be a music system or whatever it may be. So, the marketing team also gets careful when they do a forecast or they push the sale to the dealer and the distributor. Let us see the other. There are pricing obstacles. We have already discussed the lot size based discounts. We have just discussed the forward buying. Now, what is forward buying? It is a process related to retail inventories, wherein they are purchased in quantity in excess into demand. This is practiced by retailer when they find manufacturing selling the product at a discounted price and purchase the items in bulk. So, this is an obstacle because a retailer finds a wholesaler or a distributor selling in at a discounted price, maybe that is the marketing marketing activity. They are offering a higher discount than normal. The retailer is tempted to buy in bulk in large quantities. This is called forward buying. Though there is no demand, they are bought in large quantities. So, that is the reason there is an obstacle, because one, I am buying in lot sizes, I am increasing the lot size because of discounts, and the retailers are also practicing forward buying based on the discounts given. So, what could be the remedies? Move from lot size to volume based and stabilize pricing. Once you stabilize pricing and there is not too much of a discount, why such lot forward buying is happening? Because the prices are not stable. So, companies are not encouraged to thrash down the prices in such a way that it tempts the retailers to buy in large quantities. So, these are potential remedies to negate the pricing obstacles in coordination. Incentive obstacle I have just discussed. If you see sell in rather than sell through, what is sell in? Incentive based on the final sale of a particular product. That much you should know. What is the final? So, a company, when does a company earn profit? Who is paying for a particular product? So, here is a company who is selling TV sets, and here is a dealer. So, marketing team, he pushes 500 TV sets, and this is the end customer. When does this company earn money? When this customer buys the TV sets actually. Now, if you incentivize the marketing team on TV sets, it's a wrong practice, because the TV sets have not been sold so far to the final customers. So far the companies were incentivizing the marketing team based on how much they are selling to the dealer. So, rather than sell in, rather than sell through. So, now the incentives will be based on how much the final customer has bought. If they have bought 300 TV sets, the marketing team will not get an incentive on 500, they will get an incentive on the 300 TV sets. That is the final sale. So, these are the potential: align incentives across the function, alter sales force for incentives, pricing for coordination, quantity flexibility, strategic partnership and trust. Behavioral obstacle. Let us not go through the entire slide. What do you mean by behavioral obstacle? Now, if you see, when there is a lack of coordination, why there is a lack of coordination? Because everybody is looking at his own objective, own profit maximization at the expense of others. So, there is always, whenever there is a loss or whenever there is a problem, every unit in the supply chain tries to blame the other unit or other party. So, this creates a negative atmosphere in the entire supply chain. Now, there has to be a, so while rewards should be shared, losses or the other aspects also, failures should also be shared. While you should penalize a particular functional group or a unit in the supply chain, you should also reward him. So, let us see what do you mean by behavioral obstacles. Each stage of the supply chain views action locally, different stages react to the current local situation, stages start blaming each other. It causes a lack of trust, result in opportunism, duplication, form a more pragmatic standpoint. It is so, how do we do that? Building trust, use formal contracts, trust and cooperation are built, neither view hold exclusively in all situations. So, this is basically, and this is what we are calling the bullwhip effect. So, the cooperation, lack of coordination is there in operation. It happens due to operation, and there are remedies also. It may happen, it may be caused through pricing. There are remedies here as well, through behavior, and there are remedies as well. Operational, pricing, and behavioral. So, this causes, fourth one, incentive. The way incentives are structured. So, there is a need to change the incentive structure, which is going to create coordination in the supply chain. And this particular, just let us see the slide in the monitor. This actually explains the bullwhip effect. So, as you go from customer to manufacturer, the fluctuations increase. So, on the left hand side you have the customer, then you have the retailer, then you have the distributor, and then you have the manufacturer. So, the more you go up the supply chain, in this case from left to right, the more fluctuation one observes. So, the demand and the supply fluctuation is minimum at the point of sale, and it increases, the variability increases the more you go up the supply chain. So, lack of coordination causes something which is called bullwhip effect, and we have also seen what it does. It increases your manufacturing cost, it increases your transportation cost, it increases your inventory cost, and it reduces your availability of product, it increases your lead time. So, there are various negatives that lack of coordination brings in the supply chain. The last topic today is before we go to the presentation, I did briefly discuss this, that there are three levels of planning. One is strategical, the other one is tactical, and the third one is operational. Strategical decisions are on a long term basis. These decisions involve very important decisions of a particular company, important factors of a company, like whether it should insource or outsource, what are the financial resources, whether they are going to operate within the country, outside the country, facility decision, networking decisions, how should the company react to the customer, what should be the competitor strategy. So, all these larger decisions are made at this particular level, all important, and these are basically anything from 1 to 5 years. Tactical are a shorter level. It deals with resource allocation. What is resource allocation? Every company has resource, physical resources, manpower resources, assets. So, different resources. They run the organization with the help of such resources. How to allocate these resources to run the organization? These are the decisions taken at the tactical level, and these decisions are relatively short, maybe of 6 months or so. Operational decisions: route a vehicle, how to stock a material, how to do the operational management, how to load unload vehicles, all that which happens on a day to day basis. So, if you see, these are long term planning, this is a mid term planning, this is a day to day planning, operational. Logistics as a service, logistics as a function to a particular company, so far was considered to be a tactical planning. Logistics as a function or logistics as a part of the company's decision making has been given a lot of importance. So, now what do you mean logistics decisions, right, from transportation to inventory management to warehouse management to data management. So, all that are logistics management which are now being moved from tactical to the strategical level, because they understand that there is a need to consider logistics management for a longer period of time, because logistics management is going to give the company a competitive advantage. As I said, at the strategic level, the company discusses how to go ahead of the competition. What are the strategies that needs to be undertaken so the company goes ahead of the competition. So, the company has realized improving logistics services, transportation services is one way to move ahead of the competitor. Managing the warehouse properly, managing the inventory properly, using the data properly, using warehouse management services, using technology in the right way is going to give the company a competitive advantage. And why not? Today, if you see, logistics is a very significant function for all these e-commerce company. The way they package, the way they deliver, the way they track their shipment, it gives them a lot of competitive advantage, and this enhances the brand of a particular company. So, there are various ways. Okay, if I upload this particular study material now, unfortunately, I will not be able to show you a PowerPoint presentation. I have a PDF study material which I am going to quickly scroll through, and I will only ask you to note down the areas which are important, which are those 10 areas which actually makes logistics function a part of the strategy making process. So, number 1, there are 10 ways for effective transportation management that drives. Unfortunately, as I said, I do not have a PowerPoint presentation. I will just read out what are the different ways by which logistics management has been considered to be a part of the strategic planning. So, there are 10 ways effective transportation management drives competitive advantage. How? Number 1, controlling inventory. So, just note down the ones which are relevant. So, number 1, the first one, effective transportation management. There are 10 ways how to make transportation management effective and make the enable to have the company will be able to have competitive advantage. The first one is controlling inventory flow. We need not need to know all that is, of course, for your own knowledge. You can study this entire, it's a very, very interesting article. You can study the entire article, but for the time being, you have to understand what are the 10 different ways that transportation management can be made more and more effective. One is controlling inventory. Number 2, gaining shipper of choice status. That means every time a customer, you should have so much of advantage, the customer should be able to select you as the shipper. Number 3, using technology to provide visibility. Number 4, understanding visibility into data. Number 5, improve flexibility for higher customer satisfaction, creating an effective transportation TMS process, transportation management process, scalable business operations. That means, I will be in a position to scale my business operations. If the business goes high or it goes low, I will be able to, my logistics system should be so flexible that it will adjust to the increase or decrease in business. Number 8, sustainability to lower carbon footprints. That means, making the supply chain green. Number 9, properly engaging and managing a relationship with an effective transportation management. Number 10, pivoting to a strategic look at the transportation management. The next one, how to 8 steps to control inventory flow. So, let us go back. Rather than reading this entire article, what I would request you to do is to see the index first. What does the index say? Let us see the study material. Okay. Number 1, 10 ways of effective transportation management. Number 2, 8 steps to controlling inventory flow and driving warehouse efficiency. Number 3, strategic proactive tips to stay ahead of distressed shipment. What is a distressed shipment? So, these are the distressed shipment means a shipment which is delayed, a shipment which has got damaged. So, your logistics system should be so strong that you should be proactive enough and prevent such shipments in getting into a category called distressed shipments. When a shipment gets delayed, when it gets damaged, when there is a pilferage, what happens? The customer is not willing to accept the shipment, and in the process the company gets into a huge loss. So, that is called a distressed shipment. So, number 1, there are 10 effective transportation management. Number 2, there are 8 steps to controlling inventory flow. Number 3, there are 6 steps, 6 strategic steps which will prevent the company from having distressed shipments. 5 areas of technology applications to aid in logistics visibility. We have already discussed how technology is becoming an integral part of the logistics system, how companies are involving more and more technology, and the biggest use and the biggest benefit of using a technology is visibility. Visibility to the entire business. In the logistics sector, your entire movement of the shipment should be known to you. Where is it moving to, which network, which are the areas which are causing delays, which are the areas which are having maybe pilferages, are the shipments going right on time, are the drivers following the right routes, is the company saving on the fuel cost. So, these are the kind of, we have heard of GPS, we are talking of sensors, we are talking of robots in the warehouses. So, different kinds of technology applications, and that is the reason we are saying that logistics is no more a tactical or an operational, does not fall under tactical. It has become a strategic planning. It is a part of the strategic planning for every company. Let us go back to the material. 6 benefits of applying usable data in logistics for continuous improvement. Today, we are talking of data. Today is a world of big data. So, what I am studying right now are the important areas. So, there are basically, there are 11 strategic planning that will make a company gain, and if you go through the entire article which will be uploaded today or tomorrow, you can have an insight on each of these whatever strategic planning that we are discussing. So, how data is used, how data can help a company in having logistics advantage compared to the other company. Let us see the slide once again. So, data number 5. Number 6, strategic logistics management, the importance of flexibility. A company needs to be flexible, extremely important, because the customers' needs are changing. There may be a situation where we may come across an unprecedented or unexpected situation. We were discussing supply chain risk today. So, the risks are not seen to us, the threats are invisible to us. So, I need to have my supply chain so flexible that I may be able to avoid such risks, and not only that, there is a market risk as well. So, sometimes the demand goes high, sometimes the demand goes less. In case of high demand, my supply chain should be flexible enough to cater to this high demand in order to produce more stock, in order to create a better distribution management to move more and more items as required by the market. Let us see the slide once again. Number 7, successful transportation management is empowered by data. how data is helping in empowering transportation management. Number 8, how effective logistics and transportation leads to scalability. Now, what is scalability? In one of the sessions, I did say scalability means a company adjusting to the highs and lows of business. That means my logistics system should be, so flexibility and scalability goes hand in hand. So, I need to know if the business has gone down, okay, and do I have additional manpower, do I have additional facility, do I have additional warehouse space. So, my logistics system should be very scalable based on the growth or the flip side of the business if the business goes down. Let us go to the 9th one. 5 benefits from logistics sustainability and efficiency. Now, we are talking of sustainability. What is sustainability? A business that sustains, and it has a lot to do with the green supply chain management. Today, the customers require, you have seen today in the social media and so even the customers are looking for manufacturers who are producing eco-friendly products which are not hazardous, which are not producing or not creating pollution. In the same way, the companies also wants to involve with partners, business partners, logistics partners, suppliers who are also conscious about green supply chain management as sustainable supply chain management. So, there are obviously benefits. That means, what are the benefits from logistics sustainability and efficiency? How can I create, how my logistics can sustain over a longer period of time? And this particular portion will tell you about carbon emission. It will talk about the pollution that the logistics, the transportation system is creating, the warehousing system is creating. This particular portion, this 9th portion. Number 10, engagement in strategic in managing and relationship with the 3PL. Very important, third party logistics. Today, all major organizations are engaging third party logistics companies, 3PL companies, because every company, they have their core business, their expertise, particular pharma, suppose a pharma company, their core expertise lies with producing pharmaceutical products. Logistics service is not their core business, but their network is so large, they have a global network. Suppose any company, you think of any major company, that it requires different logistics services, not only transportation, it requires multimodal transportation, road transportation, railway transportation, ocean transportation, they require warehouses, they require reefer vans, they require refrigerated storages. So, they require customs clearance. So, they rely on third party logistics. And what is the role of third party logistics? They hire logistics service provider who are called 2PLs. So, the company here, they engage a third party logistics company. So, he is not directly involved with this logistics service provider. It is the responsibility of the third party logistics provider to provide end to end logistics services, whether it is warehousing, whether it is a combination of warehousing, transportation, customs clearance, shipment, vessel, whatever it may be. And the 3PL is responsible. So, managing this 3PL, maintaining a relationship with this 3PL is a very important part of logistics management. Sharing information with the 3PL, working very close with the 3PL companies, changing yourself to tune with the 3PL companies is important. This is what, if you go through the entire study material, this particular PDF when I upload, you will see these are the things which have been discussed in point number 10. Number 11, change management tips to create a strategic transportation change management. I did say re-engineering your supply chain, change management. The business scenario is, economy is changing, and the companies have a big task of adapting themselves to these changes. And in order to do that, they need to be very flexible and they should be adaptive to the logistics change. That means, If today my 3PL service provider expects me to change my system, my logistics system, I should be in a position, I should be open to accept such changes. So, I would request all of you, we have just come to almost the end of this program today. So, just very quickly, I would request all of you, once you download or you see this particular study material in the website, you need to study all these 11 strategic steps which will give a company an advantage vis-a-vis its competitors: effective transportation management, effective inventory flow and warehouse management, stay ahead, no distress shipments, technology applications, data management, how to use a data, strategic logistics management to create a flexibility, to have a flexible logistics system in the company, data management, use the data. Logistics and transportation management should lead to scalability. It should be in a position to tune with the business growth and the fall. Benefits from logistics sustainability, green supply chain management, eco-friendly supply chain and logistics management. Engagement strategies to engage and to coordinate with 3PL, third party logistics service providers, and change management. So, these are the 11 strategies that you all need to know. All these 11 strategies are being practiced by companies globally. These 11 strategies are practiced by companies globally because they feel that these strategies can take them ahead of the competition, and that is the reason why they consider logistics function to be a part of the strategic planning. So, thank you very much. I will come back to you regarding the Friday session. As of now, I am not very sure whether it will be a recorded version or we need to exclude them from this particular course, but for sure as of now 30th April would be the date for the assessment, and we will cover whatever topics that has been discussed so far online. And lastly, based on the assessment, and I am sure everybody will do well, particularly who has very closely followed all the sessions since the beginning of this month, will be able to, because as I said, very short, very simple assessment, and we will invite you to attend classroom sessions in various universities and colleges, and of course, APSSDC coordinators will help you and will explain you how certification will be made. Thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting you sometime later. Thank you very much.